Don't pick another rug, coffee table, sofa, or any piece of furniture until you watch today's video. I'm sharing under the radar design measurements almost everybody gets wrong. I'm telling you, unless you're a designer, you do not know this information, and it is crucial to crafting a beautiful, timeless home. Before we get into today's video, I'd love it if you smash that subscribe button, but let's get into these measurements. So let's start with measurement number one that everyone gets wrong, and it has to do with the console that sits behind your sofa. So sofa consoles are incredibly useful because they add a little bit of storage and they help to visually break up a space, especially if you have an open concept. But what I see people get wrong all of the time is that they choose a console table that is too tall. So your console table should actually be shorter than the sofa, and it should be within 4 inches of the top of that sofa. So it can be 4 inches shorter than the sofa or anything in between that. You do not want it to be taller because then it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. I also find that people get console tables that are too short. It should actually complement that sofa and almost be an extension of that sofa. So it should be at least 1/2 the width of that sofa, but ideally 2/3 the width of that sofa to make it really look nice and luxe. Now, I don't want it to be the exact same size as that sofa because, again, then you just have a scale issue and it feels like the console is kind of competing with the sofa, which we do not want. We just want that console to complement that sofa. So 2/3 is kind of the happy area. Another measurement people get wrong in the living room, since we're talking about the sofa, is the distance between that coffee table and your sofa. So the coffee table should be between 14 and 18 inches of your sofa. So you want them to be really nice and close together, but you want there to be enough space where you can clearly walk through that walkway instead of having to kind of like shimmy through, which is what I feel often happens. Having 14 to 18 inches will make sure that your coffee table is close enough for you to use it for drinks, setting your remote, setting your phone, actually have it be an accessory for the sofa, but it is not so close together that you're going to hit your shin on your coffee table or anything like that. Speaking of your coffee table, we also want to think about coffee table height. So that coffee table height should be just about the same height as the height of your seat cushions. So not the height of your sofa, but the height of the cushions on your sofa. So wherever that top is, that's pretty much where you want that coffee table to sit. I see people most of the time get coffee tables that are way too low, and then you find yourself kind of hunching over to use the coffee table. It looks like a kid's coffee table. It doesn't look like a coffee table that goes with your sofa. I also promise you that your back will thank you for this long term if you have a sofa that is the same height as your seat cushion. Now, you can have your coffee table maybe be 2 or 3 inches higher than your seat cushion, but I wouldn't go much above that because you want the coffee table to kind of get lost when you're looking across. You want it to blend in with the seat height. You don't want it to stand out because it's going to kind of start to look like a kitchen island in your living room, which is not what we want. Now, we talk all the time about people having rugs that are too small, and I'm not going to harp on that today because I think I've harped on that enough. I have truly drilled it into your heads, and if you don't feel like you know this, that means you're not subscribed to the channel. So click that button right now, okay? But we can have rugs that are too small, and we can also have rugs that are way too damn big. I'm talking about curling up on the sides of the wall, having a little cutout with the wall. I see this all too often, and honestly, this bothers me more than a rug that's too small, because a rug that's too small, I'm like, maybe you don't know. When the rug is curling up on the walls, I'm like, honey, you have eyes, right? You can see that this is a problem. So when you're putting a rug on the floor, you want at least 18 inches of like peripheral space all around the rug. Now, this rarely happens. I think people normally give it like a foot. I'm fine with a foot. Some people even say 24 inches, but you know what? I think I'm asking for too much there, especially since it's more important that the rug anchors all of our furniture. So if you've got a lot of furniture, you're gonna have to have a big rug, but we don't want that rug touching the wall. So at least give me 12 inches of space between your rug and the wall. I promise you, it's gonna give some breathing room, and it's going to help your furniture feel like it's floating as opposed to pushed up against the walls, which actually makes the room feel smaller. So if we wanna make our room look bigger, we want some breathing room with that rug. Now, we've got another rug problem that I get wrong all the time because it's so expensive. Okay, let's talk about a rug and a dining table. So oftentimes people get a rug that fits the dining table and the chairs when the chairs are pushed in. But in the ideal world, you actually want your rug to be 24 inches wider than your table. So that means you're gonna have enough space not only for your chairs to sit on top, but when you pull out those chairs are still going to be on that rug. I know, it sounds crazy, but that is the way we're supposed to do it. I know that it gets expensive, so what are we gonna do? A way to get around this is to do like maybe 2 faux cowhides, do some irregular shaped rugs to kind of bend this rule, because this rule can be pricey, and frankly, rugs under dining tables are just a pain if you actually eat at your dining table and you have children. My daughter, I feel like, goes out of the way to put the food in the rug and just kind of, so I took mine out. But if you're keeping a rug under the table, keep that in mind. Now, something else I see people mess up in the dining room is that anchor. So in your dining room, I want you to have a buffet, a console, something like that, where you can put the food items that you're serving, where you can have your server, things like that. It's just gonna anchor your dining table and make it feel just like a one-stop shop. Okay, it is a one-stop shop, but we want to create the illusion that it's not. But something people get wrong all the time is that they will hang whatever they're putting above that console way too high. So first, I often see mirrors. That mirror should not be 18 inches above the console. It should be nested with that console, meaning 4 to 6 inches. That's where the bottom of that item should be. This can kind of be difficult with mirrors, which is why I'm saying to you, maybe don't have a mirror in the dining room. If you're going to have a mirror in the dining room, make sure it is a large mirror. So maybe it has to be nested, but that mirror still extends 4 feet, 5 feet up in the air, and it's nice and wide so that makes sense. If you're doing a gallery wall, the base of those frames needs to be nested with that console. You don't want them 12 inches away, 18 inches away. It just looks kind of wacky. It looks disjointed. And honestly, if you want that type of distance, put that item on the other wall and then have the buffet by itself, and just style the buffet single-handedly with styling either on the periphery or in the center, but not both. But again, I've talked to you about that before, so I don't need to say it again because you've watched my videos, you're subscribed, and you know the tea. So maybe you're one of those people who doesn't want to hang a mirror. Maybe you don't want to hang a piece of artwork above your console. You want to lean it. Okay, that's fine. I love a nice leaning piece of artwork because you don't have to commit, there's no holes in the wall, and it looks cute. We're seeing this a lot in like more trendy design styles, so you're on trend if you're doing it. Slay. However, you need to make sure that that piece of art is tall enough for that wall. If it's not leaning in front of like a mirror or an anchor piece of art or something like that, that piece of art needs to occupy, okay, people say 2/3 of that wall. I'm gonna give you at least 1/2. But that means that this piece of art needs to be tall. We're not putting some itty bitty little piece of art that's like 5 inches by 7 inches, that little family photo you have. That's not sufficient. We need something tall. That's why on these consoles, you're seeing that overflowing greenery. You're seeing those stems sticking straight up. You're seeing those large vases. What you're putting there needs to be tall. So if you're gonna lean your artwork 1/2 to 2/3 the size of that blank wall. And we're just talking about the space above the console. I'm not talking about like the entire wall. You don't need to occupy 2/3 of the wall. We're not talking about the horizontal space. We're just talking about the vertical space in this instance. And I just mentioned a gallery wall, and I talk all the time about how to choose art for your wall and things like that. But gallery walls are something that people really struggle with. If you're doing a gallery wall, you need to be very intentional about the space between your pieces. Now, if you're doing an erratic gallery wall that has no rhyme or reason, I'm not talking to you, okay? So I don't want to hear it in the comments. I'm not talking to you. If you want a symmetrical gallery wall, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, okay? So there should be about 2 to 3 inches of space between each painting. What I see people do all the time is they'll put like 4 inches between one and 6 inches between another. I know it can be hard. If you don't want to get out the tape measure, you don't know what the different measurements on the tape measure, you're just saying tick 1, 3 ticks past 7 inches, fine. You know what? I get it. I get it. Tape measures can be hard. You know what? If you're having a hard time in inches, switch to centimeters. Everyone else is doing it, and honestly, it makes so much more sense. Whatever. I don't need to go on about imperial versus metric. We have better things to do. However, what you do want to do is get some type of spacer. Just use the same spacer for each painting so that you do not get it wrong. But you don't want them to have big chasms between these two items. You want them to be nice and close together so that they're telling a story together. The best way to put it is that if they are too far apart, it reads as clutter, not a collection. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Now we're going to talk about something that is a true KB pet peeve. I cannot stand this. Cannot stand this, because this is just a basic matter of reading, okay? And it's not, we're not reading Shakespeare, this is just reading. And that's people getting counter stools and bar stools wrong. So I don't care if you know how to use a tape measure. All I want you to be able to see is that bar height or is it counter height? If it is counter height, you need a counter stool. You need to just read the measurements on the Wayfair listing. I feel like people just don't read it. It says counter stool, or it will say bar stool, and it will have the heights. You do not want to get this wrong. If you get a bar stool and put it at a counter height, it feels like you got on a roller coaster and maybe the roller coaster was meant for kids and you're an adult and it's like snug as a bug and a rug on your thighs. We do not want that. That's uncomfortable. We don't want to be hunched over to eat our food. We want to be able to eat our food comfortably, especially if you work at the kitchen island. It's like you want to be uncomfortable. Get the counter stool if you have counter height, get a bar stool if you have bar height. And you're like, okay, Kiva, what does that mean? Well, I'm gonna tell you. For counter height, the seat height should be between 24 and 26 inches tall. For bar height, right, because it's different than counter height, we're looking at between 28 and 30 inches. So there is a significant difference there. So make sure you do not get it wrong. And a lot of companies lie. They'll be like, oh, this is a bar stool, when it's really a counter stool. Pull all the stools together. Double check the sales associate because they're wrong, and this is something that you do not want to get wrong because it is going to be so uncomfortable and they are such a pain to return. Can you tell that I've made this mistake before and I'm feeling a little bit salty because I am? Now, if your console underneath your TV is too small, well, it probably is. You should have at least 6 more inches of console on either side of your TV. But if you're going wall to wall with your TV, just omit the console altogether. Let's just forget about it. Let's put some picture lights or some sconces above the TV, pretend it's a piece of art, and move on. Consoles are very, very expensive. If you are really struggling to find a console that's going to follow that rule of at least 6 inches on either side, go to IKEA, get the Besto collection, and DIY it. You can make a nice long one for way cheaper than getting a mega super massive media console from any other brand. Now this is one you probably don't think about but drives me bonkers because it just makes me feel uneasy, and that is getting a bookshelf and not matching the bookshelf to your decorative items. So for example, people get a bookshelf that's really, really shallow and then put really deep items on them and it just it's kind of like spilling over, right? It looks nice when you're looking straight at it, but then you look at like the side view and it's spilling off onto the side and you're just waiting for like someone to hit it, you know, do a little bump with their like hip and everything to come crashing down. So you need to make sure that you have at least 2 inches of additional space on open shelves for there to be some breathing room between the item and the edge of the shelf. Let's also talk about how deep open shelves should be versus bookcases. So open shelves should be between 8 and 10 inches deep. I think that is a really, really good sweet spot. When we're thinking about bookshelves, that's 10 to 12 inches deep. They can even be deeper. But if you're going to go with a deep bookshelf, you want to make sure that you're not placing that bookshelf somewhere weird where when you're walking past, that bookshelf is going to totally obscure the rest of the view in the space. You need to be really strategic if you're placing something super deep. That's why if maybe you're like rounding a corner and you need some storage, open shelving is going to be a better option there because you can see through it a little bit. It keeps the space open without obstructing the walkway. And then maybe we'll put the bookcase in a nook, in a niche, in that back corner that you're never going to see that side view. Next, let's talk about the fireplace mantle because this is something that people really struggle with and I want to settle it once and for all. If you are styling a fireplace mantle, you don't want everything touching, okay? We don't want everything touching. First of all, we want to form a right triangle with the items, with the peak of the triangle being on the periphery and then the slope, the base of the slope being in the interior so that the decor slopes in to frame out whatever the anchor piece is, okay? We've got that. We want 3 to 6 inches. I think that's a little bit too much. Let's say 2 to 6 inches of space in between all of the items so they can all breathe and all be appreciated. I feel like people just stuff stuff together on the side of the mantle so that they're not obscuring their TV or something like that. But if you have a TV above your mantle, you don't need any decor. Just look at the damn TV. You don't need decor to frame out your TV. It's fine. Put decor somewhere else. Someone had to say it, so I'm gonna say it. Now let's move back to the living room because I mentioned the mantle and there's so many more mistakes that I see people get wrong here. So let's talk about your side table to your sofa or your side table to your chair. Your side table should be the same height as the arm height of your sofa or chair. So if I'm having a side table here, it should be about the same height. We can say plus or minus 2 inches, but we don't want to have to reach up to put a cup down. We don't want to have to reach down to put a cup down. We want it to be easy. I want to drink my Slurpee with ease, okay? okay? That's just how I want it. So that's how we're going to go about it. Now let's talk about sofa to chair height. So maybe we're making a nice little lounge. We want sofas and we want chairs. We want them to be within 10 feet of one another if we're doing kind of like a parallel arrangement. We don't want things so far away where you're like kind of screaming, and you don't want things so close together where you're sitting in your chair and your knees are knocking the person on the sofa. Unless we're on a date, we do not want that. Now, if we're putting maybe a sofa next to a chair or a chair next to chair, we want them to be between 30 and 36 inches of one another. We want people to have breathing room. Maybe your ex and your new, person of interest are coming to the same party. It seems like you hate yourself for inviting them to the same party, but that's not my business, okay? And you want a little bit of breathing room. The 30 to 36 inches is going to give that. And then you can have that side table that again is within 2 inches, plus or minus 2 inches of those chair ends. We're gonna have that in between them. And then we can put some decor, maybe something nice and tall so they're not looking at each other, checking each other out, trying to figure out who's better than who, okay? We can skip that by really appropriately decorating stuff. And a lot of you have fireplaces in your home, and I love that. Please stop obscuring the fireplaces. I feel like people will put chairs directly in front of the fireplace, and I'm like, okay, look, I understand we don't want to go to Diagon Alley and we're trying to kind of obscure the fireplace. However, we don't want it to be a fire hazard, and you paid extra money for this fireplace, I guarantee it, so let's show it off. We don't want seating within 3 feet of that fireplace. We want at least that much breathing room so that we can appreciate the fireplace, we can see it, but you can still have seating sitting in front of the fireplace. If you do not have the ability to have 3 feet, okay, I totally understand that, right? We don't want elitism in interior design, at least not here on this channel. So if you agree with me on that, smash that subscribe button, because that's what I'm all about. What we're gonna do instead is, instead of having high back chairs, we're gonna have a low back chair. Maybe we'll even have ottomans, right? So that they're closer to the fireplace, but they're not obstructing that view, so that we can have the best of both worlds. And last but not least, I want to talk about lighting in the kitchen, because this also drives me just so insane. I don't know what to do. And that has to do with choosing pendants over your kitchen island. If you're not doing a linear chandelier or a dome, that's fine. You can have pendants, but you want to make sure that the pendants are scaled correctly and that they are not too close to one another. You want at least 12 inches of space between the pendants, ideally 24 to 36. I know that sounds crazy. You want there to be breathing room, and you want the pendants together to be more narrow than the width of the island. You want them to take up no more than 3/4 the width of the island, so that there is some overhang, so that it feels like the island is larger than the lights, so that they form a proper vignette. You don't want the lights competing with the island, you want the lights to complement the island. So 3/4 is our max. It's our max. So if you are hanging any type of light fixture over your island, here's the math I want you to do. We're ending today's video with a bunch of math. So I didn't put it earlier so that you wouldn't hate me and you'd keep watching. So let's do the math. If you have your kitchen island, you want at least 6 inches of space on either side for each of those pendants. So you're gonna take the width of your island and you're going to subtract 12. That's the amount of space that you have for those light fixtures. Next, you want to decide how many pendants you want to have, and then you want to subtract the amount of space you need to have between each pendant from that width minus 12, and then minus this number as well. Then that's going to be the amount of space left you have for those pendants, and then you're going to divide by the number of pendants you want to have. So whether that's 2, 3, 4 is too many, okay? So 2 or 3, and then you have your information. Don't worry, I have graphics all up on the screen so you can come back and understand it. And if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, Kiva, I cannot get this, follow me over on Instagram, because I have these graphics beautifully laid out over there, so you have to follow me to go get those for free. But that's it for today's video. Those are some under the radar measurements that everyone gets wrong, but now you won't because of today's video. Let me know down in the comments if you want a bathroom version, if you want an office version, and if you want a bedroom version, because I would love to craft it for you, but you gotta let me know down in the comments. If you like today's video, please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and then check me out on Instagram. But until next time, have a beautiful day.